Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Scale with Strategy. My name is Elizabeth McFadden with Novella Brandhouse.
Hi, everybody. I'm April Beach with the Sweet Life Company. Good morning.
Good morning. So April and I alternate these topics every week, and this week is my topic. And so today we're talking about, should your 2023 marketing strategy, your strategy, include influencer marketing? So right before we hopped on here, April said, are you going to define what influencer marketing is? And I'm like, well, yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
Of course.
So let's just start there. So if you guys are on social media, just as like not business, but just personally, right? There are probably people that you follow that are not your friends, that are not your family. And most likely some of those people, okay, are probably what we call influencers. And we see influencers on certainly, I mean, I feel like the biggest social media platform we see them on is probably Instagram, but they're also on TikTok, they're on YouTube, they're on LinkedIn, surprisingly. They're on Facebook, which I don't see that as much as maybe we used to, but and they're bloggers. Okay. So these are people that their profession is what we call an influencer. And just like their name says, they influence their audiences. And it can be anything from, I mean, truly it is like in every gamut of influencing their audience with fashion or, with if it's
like
a
diet products, right? Like I think there's so many
oh gosh,
like my smoothie shakes or whatever.
Right.
Like coffee
Fashion,
additive.
health, food, travel.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband is an adventure motorcycle rider. Okay. Even in that space, in that little niche, there are influencers in that space. And what that means for everybody that's joining us today or anybody that's watching this episode later, most likely you're a business owner. Most likely you are scaling a business. And so you're like, well, what does that mean for me? What that means for you is that these influencers have audiences, okay? And just like I was saying earlier, you probably follow, I guarantee you, everybody here at least follows one influencer. And why do you follow them? You follow them for ideas. You trust them. And so they bring things to their audience. Sometimes it's paid. Sometimes it's just things that they like and they're sharing with their audience. But they bring that to you, to you as their kind of loyal audience, and then you may buy that, or you may use that product, or you might start following that. And so the reason we're talking about it today is because what we now call influencer marketing started probably around 2015, 2016 is kind of when it got going. And I think for a long time, people are like, oh, it's not here to stay. It's just a fad. Well, I'm here to tell you it is here to stay. And it doesn't make sense for every company. But like I mentioned earlier, it can make sense for B2B and B2C. It all depends on who your audience is. And, is there a particular influencer that has a direct route, to your audience or a segment of your audience? So that's what we're talking about today. And I just want to walk through, I mean, we're here for 15 minutes. So we're going to scratch the surface, but I just want to talk about it.
I love this conversation that you're bringing this to the table, because I know that a lot of, obviously you're working with your clients on all of their marketing campaigns for next year. And obviously our listeners are thinking about their marketing campaigns. And I don't think that people understand how powerful this is, and even how to tap into it. So I love that you are talking about this today. Great timing.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think a lot of times we see these really huge influencers that they have, there's an influencer that I follow. She's out of Texas. She has over 1 million followers. So if you are going to have, her name is Jen Reed, her handle is Sister Studio. If you're going to approach her, you've got to be a mega brand. Okay. You've got to have a huge budget. So, and there's a lot of influencers that are kind of like that are going to be out of reach for a lot of companies. But especially if you're in a more niche market, or there are influencers that they call them nano influencers. And so that means that they're small. They probably have a following of like 10,000 or somewhere kind of around that. But it's not sometimes just about like these people having huge followings. Honestly, it's the right, are they speaking to your audience, and do they have a loyal following? So, I mean, if an influencer is speaking directly to your audience and they have like 10,000 followers, and those people, buy, follow, like, use whatever this person is talking about, then that could be a great fit for you. So that's really the first thing, is understanding that, looking for an influencer that not only fits your brand, but also is speaking to your desired audience. So like a lot of things that we talk about on here, when we're talking about marketing and branding, you have to know your audience. You have to be really dialed into who they are, or you're just lighting that money on fire. So the first thing is, know who your audience is and look for influencers that will reach that, their audience is your desired audience. The next thing is just do your homework. So what does that mean? Well, just a second ago when I mentioned, does the brand of this particular influencer or influencers that you're thinking about or considering, do they align with your brand? So, do they represent things that your brand also represents in terms of like, mission or values and personality and things like that? Like, you want it to be a fit. Do your homework, so you definitely need to be following them. Take notice of who else what other brands and products that they align with, because it needs to all fit. I mean, it's all, it's not just like a one-off thing, because people judge these influencers not only by the things they say, but also by the things that they support as well and do paid advertisements for. Establish a relationship. So it's really hard if you're wanting to work with these influencers just to like reach out cold to them. These influencers don't just do these things for the money. They do it because it's a fit for them. And that makes sense, because again, these audiences are very loyal to them. Their audiences trust them. So they're only going to bring things to their audience that they have some experience with. And so, like I said, follow the influencer, like their posts, interact with them. And then when the time is right, send them a DM, and that doesn't necessarily mean the pitch, but just, it could be like even kind of an introduction. So, again, just, you don't want to go into something like this cold, right? The other thing is, I think for a long time, people thought, well, I'm just going to send my free product, or I'm going to offer my service for free, and then this influencer will just talk about it. These influencers are in business like anybody else. I mean, you really have to think of them as like a paid media outlet. So you wouldn't run digital advertising for free. You don't advertise on Instagram or Facebook for free, or, you don't, buy a newspaper ad for free, right? This is paid advertising. It really is a paid part of your budget. Now, I'm not saying that you can't establish a relationship with an influencer and they love you so much that they'll be willing to just talk about whatever you're doing and promoting for free. They might do that, but I feel like that's only going to happen if they find you first and they just love it so much that they want to share it with their audience. But again, that's not the norm, right? So you do have to think about a part of your paid marketing, part of your budget that would be allocated to this. And so you're really essentially paying for their time. They create content for you. You'll direct that kind of, and again, it's a collaboration. So you'll talk about what makes sense and what could be a good fit for your brand, the product service you're promoting, and obviously them as well. But they're doing the photography, the video, the styling, like all of that. So there's a lot that goes into it on their part, in addition to having an outlet to their audience. So, look at who they've collaborated with in the past, look at how they've done these things, and think about what's an authentic way that they could promote your product. you know, I think for the most part, when different influencers that we follow as customers, consumers, we don't like it when they are paid promoting something. I mean, maybe we don't mind it if it feels like it's coming across authentically, like they're sharing something with us that they think we would really like, just like all the other things that they talk about. But it has to feel authentic. It has to be real. So it can't just be like, buy today this new product. That's not going to come off right. And you don't really want your brand feeling that way in front of their audience either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that. I mean, I know what that looks like. We all know what that looks like in Instagram and the way they use that. Now you have to say this is in paid partnership or this is a paid promotional, whatever. So that is like the ad, the story of the ad is going to be really important in that process. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So a couple of things that I just want to, you know, so again, find the right influencers to collaborate with. Think of it as a collaboration, right? And then create a relation with them ahead of time, you know, in an authentic way. You know, again, you don't want it to be just a cold pitch that you're doing to them. Think about how much from a budget perspective you can allocate to this kind of marketing. And then, you know, think about what are your expectations? Not only what are your expectations from the influencer, but also what are your expectations for this marketing spend? Like, why are you doing this? And what are you hoping to get out of it? And what sort of action are you wanting that audience to take? Because that has to be a part of whatever they're pitching and their sort of that paid, the paid ad part of it. And then you need to be able to track your campaign results. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what type of marketing strategy you're doing, marketing tactic, you always want to be able to track it. That's the only way you're going to know if it's really working. Right. So when you're thinking about those expectations, you know, you want to set goals and clear metrics. Another great thing is if you want to specifically track how this campaign is working with an influencer, use a unique code that they're going to give their followers for whatever it is, a discount, a gift with purchase, or, you know, extra consulting with your service, like whatever it is that you're offering. Track website traffic, new followers, clicks, likes, and comments, all during the time and even sort of the afterburn of the campaign of when that's running. And again, don't assume that you can just give something free to these influencers and they'll just do it. That most likely is not going to happen. And, you know, make sure that however you are, you know, whatever they're doing, can you also piggyback on that on your own social media and your own marketing?
Yeah, really, really smart. And I wonder how much of this now is just brand awareness. It isn't really necessarily a campaign where the influencer is saying, you know, buy this thing, but just an introduction. I think the impressions are so valuable, especially when we're dealing with influencers that have a good conversational relationship with their audience, particularly on Instagram, where they're always, you know, it's not just the content they're posting, they're in the comments, people are actually having conversations. I think that an influencer marketing campaign that isn't just directly selling your product, but just talking about brand awareness for what it is that you know you do, and getting even followers from that platform over to your platform, especially for newer brands, would be really, really valuable.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's really hard these days to build followings on social media, even on TikTok, where it's still so new and people are building followers and a following faster. It's still really hard. And so this can be a great way to, again, dialing into an audience that is your ideal audience and building awareness with that audience and building a following. So, and like for a lot of your clients and stuff, coaches that are like, you know, they have something new coming out, or they're doing it, you know, they have a new book coming out. Anything to gain awareness around stuff like that is great. So we'll leave it there for today. Again, we just scratched the surface with this. But yeah, we at Novella will be writing a blog soon, so probably next month, and we'll post it. So keep an eye out.
You guys make sure, if you aren't yet, follow Novella's LinkedIn page as well, right? Like
yes, and our YouTube. That's where we put all these old
and all these
episodes.
will be replayed on YouTube also. Yeah. So it's just so many resources they have. We send all of our clients there. So
all right. Thanks, guys. Bye. See you next week.